The execution of this oath is required by Article 20, Section 3 of the Constitution of the State of California. So I'm just going to have you raise your arm and repeat after me. I, Carolyn Clemens,
I, Carolyn Clemens,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. And then I will have you sign it.
Okay. Yay. I'm right here. Okay, thank you. Let's make sure this works. Thank you. Okay, great.
Okay, great. We're going to go back to the approval of minutes for the April 9th meeting.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All right, and the voting is now open, or should be open. Motion approved, 4-0. Oh, sorry, is there a...
Do I need to log in here? That one? Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Thank you.
Correction, motion approved, 5-0.
Great, thank you. We can go ahead and move on to current business. First, we'd like to welcome our returning trustee, Carolyn Clemens. Welcome back to the board.
Thank you.
Item number 3, election of president for the Library Board of Trustees. So it's that time. We've got the full board that will be serving for the next year. We will do nominations and then voting.
I would vote that we just keep it the same way, but same structure. So I would like to nominate the same for president, same for vice president.
How do you feel about that? Since you are a little busy right now.
I'm okay taking, keep going, keep going.
Okay. If you're okay, I was going to suggest maybe swapping you. No? Okay. Yes, I agree. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was the second then?
Yes, second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got caught. I was putting in the information for the last one.
So Francis motioned to have Maribel be the president and Giselle be the secretary, and then Virginia seconded. So I think we're just voting.
All right, so, sorry, Francis motion, Maribel, the president.
And then his motion included Giselle as the secretary. And then Virginia seconded both of those.
I apologize. So I got the motion in a second. You can vote in the system on the president of the Library Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the motion, the approval motion was approved 5-0. So that's for Maribel as president, and then let's go to the secretary. So, sorry, Francis, have you? Right. Approved 4, 1 abstained.
Awesome, thank you. We can go ahead and move on to item 5, updates from the City of Escondido, presented by Robert.
All right. I am very excited to report that we are very, very close to the completion of the renovation. So I have a couple of updates that I'd like to provide you. The book stacks were delivered last week, and the second floor book stacks are being installed right now. The first floor book stacks will be installed in the next couple of weeks because there's still some work on the first floor that is impeding them to be installed at this time. The upstairs windows in the administrative office sections are also currently being installed as well. Lighting on the first floor, this is what was impeding the installation of some of those book stacks, and the ceiling tiles are being installed at this time. Once that is complete, then the book stacks downstairs will be completely installed. The customer service counter is a little bit delayed, but should be expected to be here in early June for installation. The IS, or information systems or information technology cabling, has been completed, and our information technology team is starting to work on shortly moving computers and technology into the building. That should happen between June and July. So they were going to take a little bit of time to do that because we do also have to remove some of those items that we used over at the temporary mall location to bring those back. So as to save us a little bit of cost, so we're not purchasing brand new stuff. So that's going to be taking place over the course of June and July. The wayfinding signage should be going in next week. That was delivered last week, and so they should be putting that up very shortly. And then the furniture is being delivered the week of May 26th, so basically the week of Memorial Day. And then the construction team itself, is working through what we call punch list items, which are just kind of small little things, nicks in the walls, kind of some minor repainting, replacing carpet tiles that may not have been properly installed, that kind of a thing. That is starting that process this week and will continue over the next couple of weeks until we're fully completed. So very excited about that. And then on June 11th, which is your next meeting day, I would like to do a final walkthrough with everybody here at 2:30 in the afternoon. Your meeting time's at 4. That allows us a full hour walkthrough within the renovated library space. And then that's enough time for you to get back over here to City Hall to be able to conduct your meeting. So that is going to be happening. Now, I do have an official timeline to be able to share with you at this point in time. Our official last day at the mall location will be June 27th. So that is a Saturday. So that'll be our last day. The very next week, movers will be over to the library and start transitioning all of those materials back over to the newly renovated space, which is wonderful. We will have a ribbon cutting and public tours on August 1st, which is a Saturday, and that will probably be anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Not sure exactly what the exact start time is, but we will provide that information to you once it comes available. I am working with our communications team and then also Reno's team with LS&S to kind of start that process to remind everybody we're coming back to the newly renovated library, and it is absolutely amazing. Then we will open officially to the public August 3rd, so that Monday, August 3rd. Also, at the request of the City Council, we will be transitioning to 7-day-a-week service. So that will now include Sundays as well. Reno and his team has provided us with an operating schedule that we'll be working with. So all of that is going to be happening. So a lot is now really starting to move forward, which is awesome. The other project that is occurring at the library at this time, which is the solar panels that are being installed, they are moving very quickly, and they should be completed within the first or second week of June, which is really nice. It gives us enough time to be able to move back in and not be impeded by that particular project. So if you happen to drive by, and I know you'll see it when we go over there on June 11th, the solar panels are actually already in. They're looking at some inspections right now, but they have moved very, very quickly on that project, so we're very happy about that. Very much thanks to Ed Vasquez, who's been our project manager over the course of the last year, to move both of these projects forward as quickly as he's been able to, which is incredible. So those are all the updates I have, unless you have any questions. That concludes my presentation.
Just a quick question, and thank you for all that information. 7 days a week is exciting news for the community. Has it ever been 7 days a week?
We have.
It has. Okay, so how long?
I believe it was definitely pre-COVID.
Okay.
There was a time, and I think it was my previous boss, who was the director of library and community services, when it transitioned to a 6-day-a-week model following some data and information that was provided to the city based on the low usage on that Sunday. However, what we heard from the city council in the December meeting was that Sundays were very important hours for us to be able to have, and they requested that we investigate a 7-day-a-week model. And therefore, we reached out to Reno and I made that request, and that will be moving forward.
Oh, nice. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the hours be adjusted to compensate you for that? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good.
So we'll remain the required agreed upon hours per week. They will just be adjusted slightly to ensure the additional Sunday opening.
Got it. Okay, and then with moving back to our original location, Reno, just wanted to put back on your radar, putting the location back on the cooling zone map, because it will be August, so we will be warming back up then. And I know, I think even the city council, when we presented during this last month, they had asked about a secondary branch. Are we completely shuttering everything at the mall and closing and moving shop, or is that something that we're discussing?
That's still a part of the discussions at this point in time. We're still gathering information. I have information from LS&S about what the staffing costs would be. I also have information from our Economic Development Division as far as what the costs associated with maintaining a branch at the mall would be. So I'm working on putting that together as a package and providing that to the city managers and city council for ultimately their decision.
Got it, okay, thank you. If we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and move on to item 6, the Library Trust Fund Literacy Projects Expenses, and this will be presented by Leticia.
Good afternoon. My name is Leticia Leal, and I'm the Management Analyst for the Community Services Department. And today I'll be providing you with an updated presentation on the Library Trust Fund Literacy Projects Expenses from 2014 to 2025. So today's agenda will include an overview of what exactly is a trust fund account, specifically the Library Trust Fund, the Literacy Project account, a summary of the expenditure audit that I conducted, the fiscal impact, and also the recommended action. So to start, at the request of the Library Board of Trustees, the Literacy Projects account for the trust fund was internally audited. And as part of that audit, we decided to make sure that we understood what the trust fund project accounts actually are. And so we found that the trust fund project accounts are dedicated sub-accounts within the trust fund, the library trust fund, that segregate smaller amounts of money for specific purposes or grant-funded programs. They are used to track, manage, and report funds separately to ensure that accounts resources are spent only for the intended purposes in compliance with funding requirements. All of the Library Trust Fund accounts, including the Literacy Projects account, are established and approved by the City Council, either through the annual budget process or via a separate staff report and budget adjustment. This approval authorizes designated city staff to administer and approve expenditures in accordance with the adopted budget and the project purposes established at the time of the project's account creation. When the funds held within the trust fund that are not assigned to a project account are requested, they're reviewed by the Library Board of Trustees for approval, and the Library Board of Trustees funding recommendation is then submitted to the City Council for final approval. One example of this request was to fund the FF&E items that were not covered under the renovation project budget. So that's one example of how that's separate from the trust fund project account. So the Literacy Trust Fund, the Library Trust Fund Literacy Project account was established in 1996, and it was created with the intent to fund expenditures for providing literacy services, programs, promotions, and miscellaneous literacy-related costs. I conducted a review of the expenditures for the Literacy Projects account from 2014 to 2025. In that time frame, 13 purchases were made across fiscal years 2014 through 2025. A deposit of $10,395 from CIP funds was made into the Literacy Projects account in the fiscal year 2021-2022. And there were no unauthorized expenditures that were noted throughout this time frame. The identified expenditures do not affect the current trust fund balance, which remains accurate as the Finance Department has accounted for all expenses to date. And beginning in June, City staff will implement a quarterly financial reporting to keep the Board of Trustees informed of the Library Trust Fund's financial status. And at our June meeting, we will be presenting the fiscal year 2026 reports to bring the Board of Trustees up to date. So our recommended action is that we request that the Library Board of Trustees receive and file the information regarding the Literacy Projects account of the Literacy Trust Fund, and that city staff will provide quarterly financial updates of the trust fund and associated project accounts moving forward. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Leticia. Do we have any questions from the board?
Did we used to do this monthly, and now we're moving to quarterly? Is that what we're doing? I thought we would get usually every month we would get a breakout of where our trust funds sat.
It is possible prior to my tenure, serving as liaison to the Board of Trustees, that it may have been monthly.
Okay.
But we have actually not done any reporting for this board in the last year. And so it is really important that we move back to that process.
Yeah.
And because there is very little activity on a monthly basis, we've opted to move to a quarterly report.
Okay.
So where that quarterly report will happen will be 2 months following the closure of the previous quarter. So when we do it in June, we want to catch you up from the current fiscal year through the third quarter, which ended March 31st.
What is your fiscal year, Robert?
July 1st through June 30th.
Thank you.
And then what will happen is we will give you a fourth quarter and full year report in your August meeting. So that will be 2 months after your the closure of the previous one. And we will continue that cadence as we go forward to ensure that you are fully up to speed and you have a full and complete understanding of what the expenses are within the library trust fund as the trustees of that particular fund. That's really important, and I apologize on behalf of the city and behalf of my staff for not keeping you up to date in this regard, which we should have been doing for a while.
Okay. Just one more question. So from what I understand of the trust fund, the board is responsible for making recommendations to the city of what to use some of those funds for. I think in the past, we've had kind of this, timeline. It hasn't been very clear what the timeline is for making those requests and recommendations. Is this something where, we see the report in one quarter and we decide, the month after, like, oh, we'd like to use some of those funds for X, Y, and Z? Or is it that we can only make recommendations to the city council, in May before they go into the fiscal year? Do you know, like, what the cadence is for being able to request those funds?
You can request those funds at any time.
Great. Okay.
So there's no issue with that,
Okay.
but there is a process when you do request those funds. My staff and myself, we have to write a staff report and we have to get on the council agenda. And usually because these items, the council has appointed you to this position, they're going to, in general, trust that you are serving in the best interest of the city and the community.
Okay.
So those items generally are placed on the consent calendar, which is just a simple up and down approval vote.
Okay.
Now, if there was something a little bit more controversial, we would bring it before them as a current business item. However, in my time that I have been serving the city council and you as the board of trustees, we've not done that, any type of controversial items outside of we really truly wanted to highlight the donations for the FF&E items that we got for the library renovation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I just wanted to clarify, is this a literacy projects account the only one of these sub-account types under our?
No, there are several. The one that I reported on last was also one, but that one's since been closed. So when we provide the update for the quarterly, we'll be able to show you all the current active sub-accounts within that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, this one is specific to literacy. So like she mentioned, this is to help fund certain literacy-related services, promotions, et cetera.
Correct.
But we do have our other trust fund outside of this account.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for that report, Leticia.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We can go ahead and move on to the statistics report. That would be presented by Reno.
I am Reno Landa, Library Director. Nice to meet you. Give me one moment while I pull up the stats. Oop, not that one. All right. So today I'm reporting on the month of March. Nothing major to highlight as far as changes in this month's report. Let's see if there's anything I should mention. There is, this month I've highlighted Overdrive Livy in red, and I will talk in more detail why in my director's report in the next section. But we have found some good news about Overdrive Livy. We have been undercounting children's checkouts. So once I have the full data, I will do a retroactive update to all of our overdrive stats. And so that's why those are in red. So those numbers will go up by approximately 3,000 to 4,000 next time we meet. And I'll have a better understanding of what happened there. Other than that, the stats have more or less stayed steady. I did have an answer for the new card statistic. Last time the board did ask, what did that include? That does include both physical and online cards. If you would like to have separate counts of when people come to the library to have the physical card versus signing up at home for the temporary online use only card, I can break those down. But currently, those are reflecting the combined all new cards stat for the library for that month. Monthly unique borrowers, that was, again, we added that just a few months ago. And as always, if there's any stats you would like to have more details on beyond what we're seeing here in the monthly report, feel free to reach out to either myself or Robert. I'm happy to include those. We have a lot more stats than what we provide here for this report. Any questions?
Quick question on my end. For literacy, class attendance doubled from January to March. Is that a seasonal thing, or is there more interest in the program? Or?
Typically with literacy, it is more of seasonal, and so they might have pushes for finishing up the classes. Right now, we finish classes, they mirror the school calendar, so actually today is the last day officially of the classes by our literacy staff, and so we see a bit of a push for more classes, more attendance towards the end of the year as it wraps up. Same with books distributed by literacy. Those are really much dependent on events where literacy can go for outreach, so those kind of go up and down as well.
Yeah. No, it's incredible to see 100+ people taking advantage of the literacy services.
Reno, it looks like we've lost a bit of volunteers. Do we know why that is?
Most of the volunteer loss is related to the store. The volunteers primarily manning the Friends Bookshop. And beyond that, we've had less teen volunteers from what I remember. We did lose our teen librarian. We have a new one. And so we're rebuilding some of our core teen volunteers. We've also not been actively pursuing too many new volunteers given the fact that we've been in a limited space and we've had less of a need for volunteers, especially when it comes to shelving and more general library services, as opposed to, say, the Friends Shop, which has consistent need for somebody to be manning the hours.
Okay, that makes sense. Maybe something to focus on with the reopening, yeah?
Yes,
Cool.
we're very much excited to get some more volunteers and new volunteers when we return.
It was also interesting to see that the number of users dropped, but the wireless sessions were higher. And so, have you and the staff, you've noticed a lot of regulars? I would just assume that would mean that there's a lot of, regulars and potential users.
That is correct. We have added a few more seats inside the general library, and I have noticed more parents in staying in the children's library, so that accounts for some of that. There could also be some people finding out that we have better internet than the mall, and so they might just be right outside, which is perfectly fine with us. That's what we want.
Awesome, thank you, Reno. And to answer your question about splitting up the new card stats, I think it's fine the way we have it. I don't think the numbers are big enough where I would want to see that split. That said, we can go ahead and move on to the library director's report, and that is you again.
It is. Echoing Robert's good news that everything is basically coming to a close as far as the renovation. We will, as Robert mentioned, have the bulk of our FF&E purchases coming very soon. Of course, as the project moved along, we learned that some things we thought might be covered by the grant were no longer covered, or that we had to prioritize more mission-critical elements that could only be funded by the grant. And so I just wrapped up phase 2 of FF&E, which is primarily those types of items that may have been missed or were never included in the first section. And in summary, it's mostly just additional storage for our children's staff, the children's staff desk, the public desk, mobile shelves to help augment and complete the storage needs in the children's library, and all of the desks for the administrative staff. We needed those. Those were no longer viable as a result of moving for storage and then looking at them post-storage. They did not survive in a way that we thought was good enough for the staff to use again. And so the majority of these are covered by the Library Foundation's pledge. So these are, again, most of them were for children's use. And so we are aligning with the request from the foundation to ensure that their contribution covers that. And then the remainder, mostly the staff desks, are coming from what was left over from the FF&E that you, the trustees, allotted for those purposes. Moving on, I touched on this. The reason why our Libby Overdrive stats were highlighted in red this month is because we learned that the 2 school districts that serve Escondido, one for K through 8 and then the high schools, both are part of something called Sora, which is its own app. It's essentially the equivalent of Libby, but specifically designed for the use by schools and school districts. The benefit is that their Sora app connects to our Libby collections. It's filtered based on whatever the school district decides is their filtering policy. But they get the benefit of anything we buy or add to our collection that aligns with that policy, they can check out, and we get quote unquote credit for the checkout. What that means is that we had consistently thought that children were not using Overdrive to the same level that we actually now find they were using it. For this fiscal year, so from July 1st to current day, when I ran the stats, our data was showing that children were checking out 6,000 in total checkouts. We had undercounted by around 4,000 or 5,000. So really, children were checking out for this last 12 months, 10,000. So that's a difference of us thinking, okay, it's only 4,000 compared to the 50,000 the adults check out. So we budget and prioritize in that regard. We say, okay, we're going to give a lot more for the adults. We're going to more or less ignore or have very limited purchasing and Overdrive for children because they're not checking anything out. This changes that formula a bit. So it's too early for me to say exactly how much we're going to shift or add to Overdrive for children. I still need to meet with representatives from the school district to get a better idea of how they've set up their Sora platform, what kind of collections and what contributions they're doing to build their side of the collection. Since it is one way, we don't get access to their collections, but they do get access to ours, which is perfectly fine. We do like them checking out our collections. But I don't want us to replicate purchases or double dip things where it's not necessary. And we want to make sure that our purchases are thoughtful and careful and impactful because we all know we have a limited budget and we want to make sure that it has an impact for our youth. But it was very good news. Like I said, we basically doubled the number of checkouts for children, and now we can move forward and plan accordingly. But I will go back and update each of the month's stats, and hopefully by our next meeting I can give you a total count for where we're at as far as Overdrive for children as a result of Sora. So if you know anybody in the schools or you have kids or anybody that's in the elementary schools, middle schools, encourage them to use Sora because that was something relatively new for me. I knew it existed, but I did not know they could borrow from our collections. So it's just another way of enhancing that partnership between the public library and our school districts. And last but not least, at least for my section before we get into highlights, last meeting we did talk about and share some draft images for commemorative library cards to celebrate the renovation and the reopening. We are still working on some designs. My next step is to have something go out public. I will first share what our quote-unquote final designs are with you via email, and then I will likely post it. We have a little bit more leeway, seeing as we will be reopening in August, and the production time was shorter than I expected, but I still want us to have the voting go out probably early June, probably last around a week or two, and then once we have the top choice, we'll then move towards production and have those ready. Likely a limited run, but if something seems popular, like the second choice, we might keep something as perhaps a children's style card in addition to our usual card. We're open to that. It's just we're going to see what the public likes and where we're going to go with that. I'm also trying to work with the two muralists, so Julia, who did the murals on the exterior and also in the children's room, and our new muralist, Tim, who's doing the Kumeyae story on the outside, to see if either of them would be willing to use some of their art for a library card. That depends really on the agreement they signed when they were commissioned and also their willingness to allow their art to be used as a library card. But we are trying, because I do know that those are popular art in the community, especially at the library. So if we can get them, we will, but that might be a longer term goal perhaps for the next special card we do. Before I move on to the highlights, any questions from my initial report?
Thank you for all of that detail. That's really great news about SORA too. I would say maybe just suggest for the report for our July meeting that there's an update on the donations from the Library Foundation and then from the trust too, just to kind of level set like how well we're heading into that reopening week. I think July would probably be a good target for that.
Okay.
Then I have a question. When do you believe the school district started using SOAR? Is that relatively new, or has that been ongoing?
That is also one of the questions I have to get answered. It was a surprise. It sounds like perhaps a prior library administration might have started the ball rolling and accepted that SORA could be connected in this way, but it wasn't made aware to myself or Dan, our assistant director, since I've been here. So I don't know if Overdrive took some liberties or if it was an accepted condition beforehand. I'm still digging. I learned this mid-last week, right before I started writing our report, finalizing this report. So I don't have very solid answers, but we have SORA and Overdrive are by the same company, so it's the same rep. So I do know who it is, and I'm going to get some answers fairly soon for us.
Okay, great. That kind of connects to my secondary question of how or what the mechanism was to connect to the library's Libby catalog. Because I know at least when I registered, I have to enter my library card number, so I would imagine some sort of connection needed to happen between the district and the library.
Exactly, and I do not know. I do know that SORA uses the student's ID number, I believe. They have their own way of logging in, and I believe they also have their own collection that they can add to, just like we add to ours. Essentially, it acts like an old mini consortium between the two local school districts and us, and also some of the other libraries. I did notice that, for example, Oceanside is also connected to SORA, and some of our students, even though they might live closer to us, might also get Oceanside items. So it's a nice sharing process, but I do not know how that was all agreed to.
Got it. Okay, if you can just keep us updated on that.
Quick question. I'm sure you guys are coordinating to give a tour to the Library Foundation as well before the opening. I just want to confirm that.
That's correct. And we also have we're going to be setting up a tour with the Friends of the Library as well. and some select community members that are heavily involved, such as former trustee Schwab as well. I spoke with him earlier this week while he happened to be at the library while I was visiting, and so it was a great opportunity to speak with him. I invited him to ours, but unfortunately he is not going to be available that time, so I promised him an individual small group tour with some other key individuals.
Robert, can I possibly join that one? Because I'm also not available on June 11th.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a set date
Okay.
for it yet,
Perfect.
but if you could provide me your schedule, and I will coordinate that with Trustee Schwab's schedule, we'll meld those together and get you.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, I'm happy to move on to the highlights. All right. I'm not going to go all over these because, as you know, we have a lot of programs each month. I will highlight some good new partnerships. I was very happy to see this Backyard Buzz Pollinators program. So this was provided in collaboration with the San Diego Natural History Museum. You can see a little highlight there. That was a nice intergenerational, so we had mostly children, but it was very family, children, and some adults were visiting for that program. So we had 49 attendees. This is in alignment with our push to build more partnerships with outside organizations, especially arts and cultural organizations such as museums and other similar organizations throughout the community. Again, I'm always amazed to see how many participants attend our Pause to Read, so Reading to the Dogs program. We had 60 participants, and this is indeed one of those programs where it is visibly more successful at the mall than it was at the main library. It's always been popular because everybody loves reading to cute dogs, but normally we would average around like 20 to 30, and we are seeing closer to the 50 to 60 at the mall. So again, it's just a highlight of one of those programs that does work well here at our mall location. Teen programs also continue to be fairly strong with our Teen Art Studio reaching nearly 20. Again, teens are one of those demographics that can be challenging for us in public libraries to bring in. There's a lot of competing interests in teens' lives. So when we can see, anything more than 15 is a great program for teens, because again, it's really challenging to get them to the library for something, even if it's fun, like Teen Art Studio. You can see here pictured just one of the examples, and we'll do some more from adult services involving our programming in the community. So we see here during Arts and Culture Month, we did have a story time at Queen Khalifa's Magic Circle, and that's what we see here pictured. In adult services, I highlight this month a number of new and noteworthy cultural programs. The Tatriz Palestinian Embroidery for All was a program that highlighted arts and culture from Palestine and related areas in the region. It's also kind of a build-off from our successful adult crochet program. The same facilitator, Angela, led this program. So it's another example of how, even though we might have a volunteer or a presenter for one program, that may also translate into future new programming at the library. Similarly, on Earth Day, we had Jim Crouch, a retired Valley Center science teacher. We had a guide to planting, care, and propagation, so seeds and planting at home. We gave away a lot of donated seed packets of a variety of different plants and vegetables, flowers. Those are very popular. We've retained those seeds, and we are working on creating a seed library. We've discussed this in the past, so now we've got a nice start for a seed library for when we return. So that's something we're working on finalizing what that would look like. But 16 people attended, and then 2 programs here that highlight kind of what we can do with partners at the mall and elsewhere. So we had a seed bombs and bath bars. So this was partially donated and led by Lush staff. Lush being, a Bed Bath and Beyond type of thing for beauty and all those kind of bath accessories at the mall. And then we also had another section of our library kitchen, and this time again, cookie decorating. The cookies were purchased, no, those were donated. We had 100 Earth Day themed cookies that were donated by Jimbo's. I remember I thought it was purchased because we spent the longest time trying to find a cookie distributor that gave cookies at a reasonable price, at least that I found reasonable. Because again, these are funded typically by the Friends donations, and we don't like wasting donations. But this one happened to be, we got Jimbo's to donate us, and Jimbo's is one of our Read Local, Shop Local partners. So again, just highlighting Jimbo's for their contributions to the library. Pioneer Room had a light month. They had 61 patrons. Most of their work this month was dedicated to back of house processing of archival collections. 2 of them are mentioned. And then, if you're not aware, Pioneer Room works closely with our outreach team, of which John Archer is one. He is well known for doing our walking tours here in downtown Escondido. And so we're doing some work on a new tour. So it was the Mother's Day home tour that he helped support using Pioneer Room research and resources. And last but not least, ending on that note, as you're all well aware, it's been a focus since I joined to really increase our outreach and community efforts. Now that we have dedicated staff just for outreach, you're starting to see some of that impact already, and you can see here how we've been attending as many events as we can within reason here in the community. So we were, of course, at Earth Day Escondido, where we met with at least 130 community members and also met with the other vendors. I'm especially proud of the work staff have been doing in reaching out to our elder care assisted living facilities and connecting with them and reconnecting them with the library and our resources. So that's included creating new library cards, teaching them about Libby Overdrive, sharing with them how they can use Link Plus and other services, and just learning what they need from us. What are their limitations? What can we do better to serve them, especially when they have limited capability of visiting the library or might have to reserve transportation to go to the library regardless of where we currently are located. And also I'll mention that part of outreach for us in libraries is outreach within the library profession. So we do have, for example, the example here of the Sarah Adult Services Professional Day. So every once in a while, our staff are asked to attend professional development opportunities or conferences, and we do allow them that opportunity either to learn or also to present to that community. An example being that in the fall, once we return to the main library, we have agreed to host a SARA conference or consortium conference for training and staff development. It's also a nice way for us to show off the brand new building. But that is another way we conduct outreach, is to make sure that locally the library profession knows what we in Escondido are doing and how we can help support them and our communities and their communities. And that is it for my highlights presentation this month.
I just want to compliment you and your staff on the community connections piece. It's critical for our community to come together in those ways. Really cool to see the assisted living as well. Just a quick question about the seed library. That was going to be my question anyway. That's an exciting development. If the community wanted to donate to it, or how do you envision that working?
Most of the seed libraries I've seen do have it, so it's mostly one way where they can just pick up.
Yeah.
But there are mechanisms where they can redonate seeds. We don't have that quite set up yet. But typically it just has to do with knowing what is the seed and being sure that that is what it is. That's usually why it goes mostly one way. And there are some, believe it or not, weird laws related to seeds that we have to double check and make sure that we're in alignment with. Mostly having to do with like genetically modified seeds, but they exist.
Nice. If you could provide an update in future months about that, that would be incredible. Because I do see a lot of posts online from other libraries, and they have a ton of engagement around their seed libraries. People love it. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments about anything in my report?
I just wanted to say, I think it's really great that we're going to be hosting something at the library. I think that helps really kind of put us on the map with other libraries, or even when we have openings, that other library staff will be hopefully looking at Escondido. Do you have any other comments? Okay, great. Thank you, Reno. Actually, I do have a follow-up question. Have we received the most recent annual report?
For the library?
Yes.
We are working on this year's annual report, and I will mention that last year's annual report was delayed, and what I'll be doing is combining last year and this year to kind of have a more comprehensive look at our time pre-mall and during the mall, so that way we have all in one. But I don't have that yet.
Okay, do you have when we might expect that?
We typically do it after the end of the fiscal, so probably in September is when I would expect that to be ready for you.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a question for Robert. Is there an update on the budget and the request that the library board put in?
There is, and I apologize, I missed that in my report. Last night, the preliminary CIP budget went to the city council. And in that preliminary, actually, I'm sorry, it's not last night, it's next week. I haven't gotten all the way through last night's meeting. It was a 4-hour-long meeting. I've only gotten about halfway through it. And so next week is the CIP budget, which is where the library collections budget falls within. I can share with you that the direction is to increase that budget amount to $300,000 over the course of the next 2 years. So this coming fiscal year and the following fiscal year. So that's where it stands. After the presentation that was provided by the Board of Trustees to the City Council, they were very much in favor of making sure we saw an increase. And that is where the increase stood. So if it passes, you will have $300,000 to spend in the coming fiscal year.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, and I would like to recognize that a lot of that effort was spearheaded by John. So I'm sure he'll be happy to hear, well, once it's approved, that we're getting that bump to the budget.
Is that a line item, Robert, or is that kind of part of the consent? Like how is it bundled so it's easier to pass?
It is actually a line, it's technically a line item within the CIP or the Capital Improvement Project budget, because the way that it works is that public facilities fees actually fund the the collections budget for the library. And so what we've simply done is instead of taking the $250, which was agreed upon in the LS&S contract, we've added an additional $50,000 to it. When the budget comes out, it should be out either today or tomorrow. To be able to see in the agenda packet, you should be able to see what that looks like in there. There will be a page dedicated to the library and what the collections budget is, and it will indicate that it's $250 over the course of 5 years, because they do the CIP budget in 5-year increments. But the next 2 years will show an additional $50,000 each of the next 2 years. The reasoning behind that is because the contract with LS&S will be up at the end of this 2 years, and that will give us a sufficient amount of time to have a conversation with the community about the direction of the library and then negotiate what that's going to look like in future years.
Thank you.
So with that said, come year 3, if the CIP budget's set for the next 5 years, let's say we decide to renew with LS&S, is the most likely scenario that budget would stay at that 300, or what does that look like? Because that budget would have been set for 5 years out, but we end the contract in 2.
Right, so the budget itself, they set it for a 5-year increment, so, last year it showed for 5 years, and then this year it shows for 5 years, so it's just adding an additional year onto that. There is always opportunity to be able to add funding, or change funding, even if that's a decrease in funding. Not that I'm saying that's going to happen here, because I absolutely do not. And in fact, if anything, you're going to potentially see an increase in that funding. The only thing that I'm telling you is that at the end of the 2-year mark, it gives the city, LS&S, and the community an opportunity to discuss what the funding for the library is going to look like, who the operator for the library is going to be as well. Now, this should likely be decided long before that, but it is necessary for us to have that community conversation, and that request that you had a couple of meetings ago was impactful in a way that the city council agreed that additional funding was necessary for the library collections, hence why an additional $50,000 a year over the course of the next 2 years was added. Does that answer your question, I hope?
This is sparking other thoughts in my head too, but is the library back in the general fee for the city?
Starting in fiscal year 27, which is as of July 1, we will be back in the general fund.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you for confirming.
And then you said, so the collections budget is being funded from the public facilities fees.
Correct.
And so that's part of the CIP, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then I had gone to a workshop. Is CIP monies, is revenue from Measure I that's being generated going into CIP? Or is that a different
So
source?
Measure I funding is a different funding bucket. So
Okay.
it's different than CIP monies. So I have worked in public service for my entire 30-year career. And public funding is incredibly complicated, and I don't always understand it, and I've been working in it for a very long time. Public facilities fees are basically developers' fees that the city receives for growth of the city. And those fees are then taken and applied to areas of growth. And so that's where your funding source is coming from for the collections budget. Because we have had growth in this city.
Got it, okay. Sounds good. I think those are all the questions I have.
Sorry, just one more question. About how long do we anticipate contract negotiations to take with LS&S?
So it's not about necessarily contract negotiations.
Okay.
So what it's about, and I am not leading this effort.
Who is?
Our deputy city manager, Joanna Axelrod,
Okay.
will be the one who will be leading this effort. That will
Okay.
probably kick off in about September of this coming year.
Okay.
To have an ongoing, very robust conversation with the community to decide what do we want to do with the library and the library services. And there are a variety of different opportunities that are open and available to us. That includes the continuation with LS&S. I think many of you agree it's been a very successful partnership up to this point. The other option that is potentially on the table is we can return that, the department back to the city, and the city would wholly run the library just as we did like 8-9 years ago. The other option that is potentially available is another operator. And that other operator could be another firm similar to LS&S. That other operator could also be the County of San Diego. So it just very much depends on what that would look like. So these are all options that are potentially on the table that the city wants to have a conversation with the public about what their intended direction is. You will be heavily involved in that conversation. I will be right there alongside you, involved in this conversation as we gather data and input from the community and the city council and the library board as we move forward.
And Robert, just like last time, I would anticipate that the council will kind of rely on us to make a recommendation to them?
I would assume that
Okay.
would be the case as well.
Okay, thank
You
you.
guys are the ones that are most intimately involved in in working with LS&S in that connection between the community and the services that we offer at the library. And so I would assume, being appointed to this position, they will rely very heavily on your recommendation. But I cannot speak for them.
And then, I should have looked at this before, but the strategic vision for the library, I think when I first started, we're in through maybe the end of 2027. Okay. So does that align with the timeline that we'll need to come up with a new strategic vision?
So that is something that we will need to have a conversation about, what that's going to look like. That does not necessarily mean, even if we transition to another operator, that strategic vision will not simply be required or requested of that operator to be able to follow through on, whether that operator is the city, whether that operator is somebody else.
Okay, thank you.
Then I just wanted to clarify on the timeline. I think you said the deputy city manager would be leading these conversations September of next year. Is that correct?
This year.
Oh, this year.
This
Okay.
year, yeah, because we need a long enough runway to be able to have a complete conversation that allows us to really explore all of the options. And the only way for us to do that is get that started as soon as possible. And right now, the approximate kickoff, if you will, would be about September of this year.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think with that, thank you, Reno. We can go ahead and move on to the trustee library use report. Would anybody like to start us off?
I can go quickly first. Visited the mall location again, and then also next week I'm planning on going to the literary services dinner.
Also visited the library since our last time meeting, and again, staff is so very friendly. You all just do a great job maintaining it. Again, kids, as always, enjoy all the fun, the puzzles and things that are available for them on the children's side. And then also utilized, I do have a few digital checkouts from Libby, and have, again, been pleasantly surprised that there's been a range of stuff that's just available now and don't have to wait as much. I know some of the more popular reads definitely take some time, but yeah, easy and great to access.
Awesome, thank you. I attended the Seed Bomb event by Lush, and I was able to take my cousin and my sister, and it was really fun to do. Of course, my little one stole my bath bomb as soon as we got home. But that was pretty cool, and all the information they were able to share with us. On April 30th, I did a presentation with Trustee Schwab to the Sunrise Rotary, and that was on the request of Judy Fitzgerald, who is in the Sunrise Rotary. She felt that it would be good for the Rotary to hear a similar presentation of what we did to the City Council. So we did that, and I think for the audience that we had a lot more questions about the removal of fees from the library. And so I think there is just some thought of we're hurting for money in the circulation budget, but pre-COVID we removed fees. But again, we didn't have a crystal ball to know that COVID would really ramp up the need for digital services. But otherwise, the presentation was well received.
I was really happy to see that our Read for Pause has gotten so popular in the library. Over the last year, we adopted a black lab puppy, and she's gone through her first round of training. And I'm hoping to get her to the point where she can be a therapy dog and participate on the other end of the pause, as the pause end. So, yeah, excited for that.
I was really excited to see, or just the events that are taking place now. Such a, I don't know who's behind it, but somebody at the library is doing a great job of what events we're bringing to the community. And there was a workshop last night for taking photos, better photos when you're on vacation, I believe. And it was like, so, like, how impressive that someone thought of that idea to create like a community workshop for that. So really pleased with like the amount of services that we're providing, whether it's crocheting, cooking, photo, and career. And I mean, you guys are just covering every single corner that we can to really bring a lot of information to the community in different ways. So just wanted to thank whoever thought of that. And then just to remind you all that June 11th is actually my 50th birthday, but thank you. So I won't be here, but I will be moving my daughter out of her dorm room on that day. So I will be in Sacramento celebrating my 50th birthday, moving my college kid home.
Thank you. Well, since we won't see you until July, well, I'll probably see you, but happy early birthday. And your birthdays, you get your daughter back for the summer. There you go. And I do also want to share, gratitude for that delayed registration. I've been able to sign up for more events for the library and actually have one coming up tomorrow. So that is pretty awesome. So with that, do we have any future agenda items anybody would like to put on? Okay. So then that concludes the meeting. We will be meeting again on June 11th at 4 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.